Hello and welcome to another episode of Wednesdays with WV. This is episode number 64. And my guest on this episode is one who's been a part of cricket administration for a long, long time. He started off with the Bombay Cricket Association, as it was called, in the 70s, and then gradually progressed into becoming one of the important cogs of the BCCI. He's been around for a long time and he's done his work very diligently, but yet, the beauty of that man is that he's extremely popular with everybody he's dealt with, be it his colleagues in the BCCI, the secretaries of the different associations, or the cricketers who he has handled and dealt with. And I'm talking about Professor Ratnakar Shetty. Morning, Professor. How are you doing? All well? Good to see you after a long time.
Yeah, same here.
And let's hit the road, as they say. What prompted a chemistry professor to make a foray into cricket administration?
Well, I don't think I had planned anything in cricket administration. I used to teach chemistry at Wilson College. I used to be cricket crazy fan like any other Indian.
Okay.
And watching matches at the Maidans. We were lucky in Mumbai to watch time shield matches those days, with all the international players participating for their teams. The inter-school, inter-collegiate matches used to be of great interest. When I joined the Wilson College in 1975 as a lecturer, I was assigned this responsibility to look after the cricket department in the Gymkhana committee. That's where it all started. And it was Professor Changadkar, then Executive Secretary of the BCCI. He called me up once and asked me to represent Wilson College on the Bombay Cricket Association, as it was called then. So that was the starting point of my relation or introduction.
Okay. Chemistry is all about balancing equations. Is that why you could handle all the stakeholders in a very appropriate manner, in a balanced manner?
I think it was my experience at the college level. Particularly, I was the assistant warden of the hostel, boys' hostel, for 6 years. I was in charge of the student activities in those days. And interacting with senior teachers in the college, some of them were outstanding, really helped me to develop my own personality and deal with things when it came to the cricket administration part at a later stage.
The experience of handling Mumbai Cricket must have come in very handy later on in your administrative career, isn't it?
Yes. Mumbai Cricket those days was, we were fortunate when first time I got elected to the managing committee of then Bombay Cricket Association in 1990. I was fortunate to come across some of the stalwarts of Indian cricket and Mumbai Cricket as a part of the managing committee. The president was Mr. Madhav Mantri. We had Mr. Naren Tamane, Ramakant Desai, Dilip Sardesai, among others, who were a part of the managing committee. And it was a great pleasure listening to them and their concerns if anything goes wrong in Mumbai cricket. And they were people who were connected to grassroots cricket, particularly school and college cricket in those days.
From the MCA to the BCCI, it must have been a natural progression, obviously.
My first meeting that I attended of the BCCI was the working committee in 1996, when I was the joint secretary of the Mumbai Cricket Association. And like Mr. Dalmia, Mr. Bindra, Mr. PM Rungta, Raj Singh Dungarpur, and it was a pleasure listening to them and the way they conducted themselves in those meetings. Although there used to be debates and arguments, they were never on the same page. But the administrative aspect of it was definitely visible in whatever discussions they participated in.
Let's go ahead to 2004 when you were the manager of the India-Pakistan tour. That must have been a great experience.
Yes, I think in 2004, Mr. Dalmia asked me to be a part of the team to visit Pakistan for security assessment because it was a full tour after 14 years. And the previous experience was not good, where Shrikant was manhandled on the ground by spectators. Uh, when we visited, it was Yashwardhan Azad who was then the police in charge at the IB ministry. Amrut Mathur and myself, three of us, we went there. And it was great to see the passion among the crowd there, just to understand that India and Pakistan are going to revive the uh, cricketing aspect again after a long time. The government of Pakistan assured us full security. And finally, when the tour was announced, uh, we had to give in our inputs as to how the tour would proceed and the venues. And I still remember our committee had proposed to the government of India that we would just be playing a one-day match in Karachi, Rawalpindi, because these were places where there used to be problems earlier. And accordingly, the BCCI prepared a schedule of the tournament. But I had never thought that I would be appointed as a manager for the tour then. When Mr. Dalmia announced it, I thought that if everything goes well, fine. But if there is a problem and on the tour, and particularly with respect to the result of the series, I'm sure there would be a problem back home also with people in India never agreeing to a loss to Pakistan in a cricket match. But things turned out well. There were apprehensions in the minds of the cricketers also. And Mr. Dalmia had a word with all of them. So the full team was available for Pakistan tour. And the tour was a great experience for me because the then Prime Minister, Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee, met the team before we left for the airport. And he had us as an advice to the team that you play your cricket and win your matches, but we need to also win the hearts of common Pakistani people. That was a great message that he had for the team. And I think our boys did well in cricket, both on and off the field, as the ambassadors of our country on that tour.
Yes, that obviously was a fantastic tour. And then time moved on. You also kept being a very important member of the BCCI in many respects. And just give us a sense of the view that is prevailing even today, that the ICL forced the BCCI to conceptualize the IPL. Is there any merit in it?
I want to put this in proper perspective. It was Mr. Lalit Modi in 1996. For the 1996 World Cup, there were at least 5 or 6 centers who had put floodlights for the first time. And Lalit Modi was not a part of the BCCI then. And he came up with this proposal of holding intercity tournament, day-night games for ODI format. Of course, the board struck that proposal down. And then when he was elected as the vice president of the board with Mr. Pawar as the president in 2005, he revived that hope And ICC had already announced the T20 format by then. The T20 World Cup was to be played in South Africa. India was not keen to participate in that World Cup because we didn't agree. In fact, you'll be surprised to know that India was outvoted 9-1 in the ICC meeting, with all 9 members wanting to go ahead with the T20 and India abstaining or opposing that format. Before that, we started this work on in the month of August, September, where the first meeting was held. IMG made a presentation to the BCCI, Cricket Australia, ECB, and Cricket South Africa as to the T20 league that could be played in India and which BCCI was interested in organizing. So I don't think it is proper to say that ICL was responsible or was initiating. BCCI started IPL because of ICL. That's not correct. Even before that, BCCI had planned a T20 league. And what really made the league successful, if you'll agree with me, was that India won the World Cup. The initial T20 World Cup that we won was the the point or the stage which really brought IPL into focus.
No better person than you, Professor, to tell us what exactly happened. And 2008 was a very significant year in a couple of ways. One is that the IPL started, and the second, if I remember right, women's cricket came under the BCCI fold, didn't it?
It was in 2006 when the working committee meeting headed by Mr. Sharad Pawar that this initiation took place. And there were differences in the BCCI, I must say, at that time. Not everybody was keen on women's cricket being a part of BCCI. Some of the stalwarts had suggestions that Mr. Pawar is so keen to have women's cricket to grow. Let us pay them the money to organize their own cricket, because there was an official body at that time. Indians Women's Cricket Association was already there, and they used to conduct a lot of women cricket activities in those days, participate in ICC tournaments. But Mr. Pawar put his foot down, and but for him, that decision would never have seen the day of light. And I still remember he took a decision and asked all the associations to include women's cricket as a part of the structure.
Then let's move on to 2011. Obviously, anything major happens in cricket, you had to be a part of it. You were made the tournament director of the World Cup when India hosted it in 2011. How taxing was it?
Actually, India was not supposed to be hosting, I'm sorry, not supposed to be in charge of that ICC 2011 World Cup. As per the original decisions, 4 countries were to organize together: Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and India, out of which Bangladesh was a new entrant. They had never organized a world ICC event. And where the Sri Lankan players were attacked, turned the tables on, and Pakistan was excluded as an organizing member. So we were left with India, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka. As a result, India became the hosting nation to be in charge. That's how it happened. And the matches to be played in Pakistan were distributed equally between India, Pakistan, India, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh. And it was a taxing and stressful event. But for me, the most stressful thing was 3 of our important stadiums were undergoing total refurbishments. That is the Chepauk ground, Eden Gardens and Wankhede Stadium. And we were running against time for completion of the facilities in these stadiums. ICC was holding continuous inspections at regular intervals. And, we were worried whether we'll be able to be in time to organize the matches. But all three venues completed the work, but there was a slight delay according to ICC experts. The first match, India-England, which was supposed to be played in Eden Gardens, they felt that Eden Gardens wouldn't be ready for that, and the match has to be shifted. So that was shifted to Bangalore. Then there were issues because when you host a world tournament in Asian country, uh, you know the other nations usually have a problem with the security issues, and they want guarantees of different types of the securities for the teams that will be provided. So that was one issue that was there, and it was helped by all the three governments, I would say. And one major problem that we faced organizing the tournament was in India, basically, because the Indian government had just a few months before the World Cup introduced a rule that anybody who leaves India, a foreigner, he cannot enter India within 2 months. That created a lot of problems for us because matches were to be played in India, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh, which meant the teams, the commentators, the spectators, the officials, administrators, everybody would be traveling from one venue to another during the World Cup. But the Prime Minister, Mr. Manmohan Singh, was kind enough to get a solution in that. That everything was cleared in that finally, and that hurdle was also solved. The biggest headache for me was, I think, the India-Pakistan match organized in Mohali. You know very well the type of demand that goes into an India-Pakistan match even today. And Indian stadiums, Mohali became too small a stadium to stage an India-Pakistan match. And to add to my problems, both the prime ministers decided to attend the match and witness, be a part of that match. So there was so much additional pressure on Mohali, that is the Punjab Cricket Association, as well as the BCCI, to ensure that everything goes off smoothly. And the security, very funny. The security was so strict that day that even the food truck for the players was not allowed for the players. We had to make makeshift arrangements with whatever was available in the stalls, collect that and provide that to our team. These are practical difficulties that we come across while organizing a world event in India. And I was fortunate to experience all this and do it in a manner that it didn't create much problem to anybody.
All of you did extremely well off the field. The boys did well on the field. They won the tournament. Everything was looking hunky dory. But then again, 3 years down the line, a big scandal must have been a setback, isn't it? The fixing saga in 2014, to say the least.
Well, I think the match fixing saga was the most unfortunate part of the IPL history, I would say. Everybody was worried how it would dent the future of IPL, which was gaining a lot of popularity in those days world over. If you remember, WV, there was also a match fixing issue much earlier than that, in the 90s. Playing the game at that time were people who could turn the tide and ensure that Indian cricket is not affected by what happened off the field. And we were really fortunate to have overcome that. But when IPL happened, there was already a huge thing going around. The president's son-in-law was accused in that case, and I felt that somehow there were quarters or people who were interested in maligning the then president, Mr. Srinivasan, also at that time, apart from causing damage to the IPL as such. But that was very unfortunate, and I don't think we have still fully recovered from that. The fears of match fixing are always there, no matter how much protection the BCCI provides with respect to the security in terms of the officers, that police officers who are appointed, or anti-corruption officers who go with the team. But still, somewhere the fear lingers on, because apart from that 2013 IPL incident, there were incidents which were reported in the local Indian leagues also, which was a cause of worry, I think, for BCCI, and which still is a cause of worry.
And then the fallout was the disruption of the functioning of the BCCI. But you were still there because you were the chief administrative officer of the BCCI. How challenging was it, or how difficult was it running the BCCI while convincing a group of people who are happy to disagree to agree or agree to disagree?
I think the whole nature of working of BCCI changed with the appointment of committee of administrators. Didn't remain the same as it was before this incident happened, because of the way BCCI is to function, the office bearers taking decisions. People may have criticized or may criticize a number of things which, according to them, is not proper or was not proper in BCCI. But at the same time, one has to give credit to the BCCI for bringing the game to what it is today, whether financially strong or facilities and the standard of cricket in India that we see. It was one of the toughest periods for me in particular, because I had worked in a regime where there were elected representatives running the show, and my last 2 years were with the committee of administrators, who had a different way of dealing with things, and they used to go by the rule book on everything, because they were appointed for that purpose, to ensure that BCCI is brought on track. I'm not very sure whether the LODA recommendations have seen the light of the day even today, because there is so much of problem that still exists so far as the implementation of those recommendations are concerned. Nevertheless, things have moved on. Elections of the BCCI were held in 2019, 2022, and things are taking shape in what was the earlier form of BCCI that we saw.
The thing is that they say when it rains, it pours. Now, there came a problem from another angle, that from the MCA, it is getting stagnated and operations had to be suspended. That should go down as one of the lows of BCCI as well, isn't it?
Well, I think you have been a part of MCA too.
Yeah.
And we had many good cricketers who ran the show at the National Cricket Academy. But somehow, I always feel that because we had a place offered by KSCA, we didn't take the jump of organizing our own facility for all these years. Finally, we bought a land at Bangalore, and work is going on. I'm told in the month of July or August, it is likely to be inaugurated. That will be one of the great days for BCCI, according to me, because I really didn't understand with all the kind of facilities and financial strength that we had as to why we could not have our own facility for that matter. And a number of youngsters who have gone through the portals of NCA will not deny this, that they have gained out of their experiences at the National Cricket Academy, whether it is the zonal camp, whether it is the BCCI annual camps. And it has been a positive thing that used to work out. But with its own facilities now, I think BCCI stands to gain, and I'm sure that things will be much better at the NCA when it moves to its own premises. Raman, I only had one regret when I was in BCCI and looking after NCA also as a part of it, that I never understand and have never understood till date as to why the Indian cricketers, the coaches who were employed at the NCA, could not come out with a handbook of our own, which, with respect to Indian cricket and the way it should be played, and the rich talent that we had in the 90s and 2000 and even earlier, and the lack of history of our Indian cricket among the junior trainees in India. I think these are two areas uh, where I think we need to really work on. We have got some great individuals, people who have coached, they've been coaches, they've played great cricket. We need to come out with a manual of our own. Unfortunately, it is the manual prepared by Dave Watmore in 2008. After that, we have not published anything of our own. I think we need to do that.
Yes, it has to be done. One of the things that I was also wanting to be executed during my tenure there, as also a video of all our former greats, so that the current generation cricketers get to see what it was like in those years gone by. I think that's something that perhaps might happen once the new facility comes up. We can always, be
Correct.
hopeful of things happening. Prof, you know that. You worked with a lot of presidents. Now, briefly, uh, just tell me about the leadership styles of Mr. Pawar, Mr. Manohar, Jaguda, and NS.
But for them, they wouldn't have been able to sell media rights. They took up the challenge of Prasar Bharati in the courts, and when the Supreme Court decision was finally announced, saying that all cricket that is played in India is the authority of BCCI, and Prasar Bharati has to also file its own tenders if it wants to telecast matches. That one decision changed the face of Indian cricket so far as monetary strength is concerned. Today it is, it may have started with a small sum, but it has grown over the years because of that independence we got through that Supreme Court decision. According to me, Mr. Dalmia, as the president, did a lot, and he was somebody who would take decisions, whether right or wrong, and stood for that. Mr. Pawar had, being a politician of high standing, he had his own way of tackling issues, as I told you about, whether it is women's cricket, whether it is the pension for retired cricketers and umpires, uh, and the starting of IPL. I will full credit goes to him because, but for his insistence, many of these decisions would have happened. And uh, Mr. Srinivasan brought in a lot of corporate activity in the BCCI, accountability. He used to be hands-on. And he is one administrator who is different from all others because he was connected with cricket at the grassroots level. And he exactly knew what the problems of cricketers were. He had been nurturing a lot of junior cricketers, employing cricketers in his company. So, and looking after his own state association. He brought that rich knowledge of all this when he came to BCCI. And his decisions, I would say, were important when it came to dealing with cricketers and the problems. And one such decision, which I really appreciated, was the one-time benefit for the cricketers when he was the president. Shashank Manohar, in his own way, was a person who was committed to development of Indian cricket. But somehow something which struck me over the years that I worked in BCCI, which you would be interested in knowing, is that no two office bearers remain together over a period of time. Whether it was starting with Jagmohan Dalmia and Bindra, they split. Bindra went with Mr. Pawar, Shashank Manohar, Srinivasan. That went off. Mr. Pawar and Shashank Manohar were not on the same page at one election. And finally, Shashank Manohar and Srinivasan were not on the same page later on.
How does one do his or her job without fear of favor, but yet have the affection and respect of everyone like you do? Please let us in on the secret.
No, today, replying to your question, I would say that it was my experience at Wilson College of dealing with students and the activities in the college, which really helped me to develop a sense of loyalty to the institution which you belong. And that is exactly what I did when I came in BCCI. I was not interested in the politics that goes on in the BCCI because that was a part of the it was institutionalized. So one didn't really have a choice in that. So the best thing was to contribute in a positive manner rather than being drawn into the political decisions or political working in that. And that is where I think all of them respected me. We earned the respect of each other. And there are differences with me on certain issues, but they really appreciated that I could voice my opinion on several factors in the BCCI.
Of course, I can vouch for it as far as the viewers are concerned. Professor Shetty has been one who's highly respected by everybody, and he's also popular, who's absolutely loved by everybody, be it the cricketers or administrators. Finally, Professor, delighted the way the WPL has panned out in the last 2 years.
Oh, yes. I think that is another great thing that has happened from the point of development of women's cricket. Was organizing it. We used to help them with grounds and umpires. And in BCCI, since 2016, I used to look after junior cricket and women's cricket. I think the changing factor is the 2017 World Cup, which India narrowly missed winning the championship under Mithali Raj. And that all the India games were televised on Star TV. I think Star Sports, I think really helped bringing women's cricket into focus so far as Indian cricket was concerned. And, it was a time that was important when Women's League would start, because we allowed our girls to go and play in Big Bash or 100 in UK, but that was not helping many of the girls. And I think to start Women's Premier League was a very positive decision. It's too early, I would say, to talk about coming to the standards of Australia and New Zealand, for that matter, or England. But a beginning has been made, and I'm sure that this WPL will go a long way in identifying great talent, nurturing them, and ensuring them that they stay in the talent pool and will be looked after. And apart from that, it also comes as a great monetary help to the women cricketers. I still remember how happy the team was when I was told to announce I was with the team in UK during the World Cup in 2017. And I still remember Mr. Vinodra and Miss Diana Adalji calling me up and telling to convey to the team that they had been given a prize money of 50 lakhs for reaching the finals, and irrespective of what is the result of the final. I think that was, these decisions are important basically, and I feel that we are on the right track, and women's cricket will be much stronger, and we need to make multi-day domestic cricket also a possibility for women's cricket.
Thank you, Professor, for your time, and as usual, for acceding to my request. And enjoyed the chat, and hopefully I'll catch up with you soon.
Thanks. Thank you, Ramanji.
Take care, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
There was Professor Shetty narrating and enlightening us on all the important events that happened in Indian cricket during his tenure at the BCCI. When I say during his tenure, it was a long one, and he's been a part of just about anything and everything that was not only important but also very, very trivial too, because he was a hands-on man, and I'm sure you would have enjoyed the chat. But we do apologize for the mild interruptions because of the network. We can't do much about it. And like I always say, for those who've been with us right from the start, continue to support us and keep your comments coming. That will help us in getting better and better. And for those who joined us for the first time, log on to the handle of Sports Star and watch all the earlier episodes where you have some terrific content. And also try and press all the buttons that there are to be pressed. And thereby you become a part of our show every fortnight. Until I catch up with you next time, be good and stay safe.